Yo, 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 yo. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Max and Juan cast. Off-season edition, off-season podcast. Max, trades are going off, free agency is going off. So I said, fuck it. MJC Sports needs to enter the chat and talk about some of this stuff, man. How you doing tonight?
Doing good, guys. How's everyone doing? Hope everyone's doing well, being safe, staying warm, staying cool if you're in one of those areas. I'm not sure. It's crazy free agency one, and it's a little different than last year. Last year, we think about the running backs, Saquon, Henry, Josh Jacobs. This year, I don't think there was the marquee guy. Maybe Sam Darnold as the quarterback market kind of shapes up, but been hectic. False reporting, reports we thought were true. Milton Williams craziness, all types of craziness. And you see teams playing the game with the draft compensation down the road, comp picks, all that jazz. There's some winners, there's some losers, like always. And I think more than ever, when we saw teams go from bad to good or really bad to mediocre, or I wouldn't say anyone went good to great, right?
No.
Like, who's the Xavier Kinney of this class? Maybe it's like these are marquee guys. These are all pros changing teams. I don't know if we got a lot of all pros changing
Yeah.
teams this year.
Yeah, no, you're
Yeah,
absolutely right. I feel like it's a
I know.
correlation. I feel like it's a correlation with the draft too. Like we're in the draft process right now. And I don't think by any means it's a bad draft, but it's just solid. I don't think there's really that many marquee players in the draft. And I think the same way about free agency and just the whole landscape of some guys being available. Like last year, like you said, Saquon, some high, those are high fucking caliber guys. And, you know, these kind of things go under the radar for the casuals because there's a lot of underrated signings this year as far as free agency goes. And there's some impactful guys. You just got to look. You got to look deeper than the numbers. And a lot of these guys have come off some teams where they just weren't that good. So you just didn't know
Zach
about them.
Bond is a great example. Last year, Zach Bond to the Eagles. This time, I'm like, damn, we got Devin White. Like, finally got like an athletic linebacker. Meanwhile, it's like, oh no, Zach Bond. He's the
Right.
guy.
Yeah.
And also, guys, for those of you who just started following football, or those of you deep in the woods, like every year, I think I learn something new, learn like a different way to look at stuff.
Yeah.
Like maybe a few years ago, you look at free agency also as kind of a tool to measure the draft. If the
Yes.
Titans weren't set on a quarterback, they would sign Sam Darnold.
Right.
And I think we're going to maybe talk about some of the draft implications, but guys like Shadur Sanders is kind of like, if you get past five, the drop's going to happen because teams are making moves for quarterbacks. Seahawks took themselves out of the quarterback market.
Well, let's
The,
talk.
the yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Let's start right there. I want to start with the quarterback carousel, and it's with two guys in particular that basically changed the landscape as far as the quarterbacks go. Sam Darnold officially signed with the Seattle Seahawks, and a week before that, the Seattle Seahawks traded with the Raiders, Geno Smith. So Geno's on the Raiders, Sam Darnold's on the Seahawks, and I think both of those teams, Max, were in a position where they weren't going to draft a quarterback in the top three, right? They're outside the top three, so they're probably not going to get Cam Ward. Cam Ward's out of the question
Well,
unless they trade
I
up.
think Shador was in the running for the Raiders, and we've seen a lot of things. And you know what? I think it's a different. I know it's different NFL, but we saw one time when Pete Carroll went after a quarterback, Matt Flynn. It didn't stop him from taking quarterback down the road. Now I don't think it's going to be at 6, but hey, maybe Jalen Milrow sitting there in round 4, and you're like, damn, maybe we get Jalen Milrow. Maybe we could strike gold twice. Maybe we get like our
My
franchise quarterback in the 4th round.
my thing, Max, is I don't think they feel that confident about anyone other than Cam
Well,
Ward.
yeah, I mean, if you're sold on Shador, you're like, oh, let's just move up. We're not going to go trade for Geno
Yeah,
Smith. Who Geno Smith's a great bridge. He might be the best bridge quarterback
yeah,
out there to
and
me.
people have
Yeah,
to understand, like me and you were outside these buildings. Everyone is outside these buildings. Yes, you have some insiders, but for the most part, we don't know what's being talked behind closed doors.
correct.
Most teams know who they're picking. Most teams know who they like already. They've been known who they liked since
Well, they have a
December.
plan. They're like, okay, so at 6, if Brock Bowers is there, we're taking him. Okay,
Yeah.
if Latu's there, we're taking him.
And
These are
you
the
don't
conversations
know
teams have.
and you don't know if it's a domino effect, Max, as far as one team putting out there. Let's say let's say the Raiders did like they do like Shador Sanders, right? Who knows if they're
Hmm.
pushing a negative narrative out there to drop his draft stock? And
Yeah,
monkey see,
correct.
monkey do.
And I will say one thing too, and you hear it from a lot of the guys who are in the buildings who have contacts in the NFL, which we don't yet, hopefully one day. But it's about the coaches are starting to get into the swing of it now. Like they're in the draft. And now it's not just about always the GM has final say. Very few organizations, the GM has the say. Like
Right.
it's like I would say the Eagles are a team where it's Howie Roseman's pick. Doesn't matter. Does not matter what you say. But some teams like Ben Johnson probably has a say in who the Bears pick. Like, okay, we're gonna do this. And that's where the coaches get into it. There's no way Pete Carroll doesn't have a say. There's no way Pete Carroll doesn't have a say in who the Raiders pick first. Would you agree?
Uh, yeah. I mean, I
There's no
would.
way he has no input. Like some
Yeah,
coaches, it's like give a lot. Like I would say Harbaugh's a guy who's going to have a lot of impact, like Jim Harbaugh,
and I
and
think
that's the case with some teams.
Especially with Pete, where he wasn't coaching last year, so he's gotten a head start probably on a lot of these prospects, a lot of these free agents. He wasn't in the midst of the season coaching a football team.
Yeah, he
He
was literally thinking about where I get my job, what I
right,
envision, the guys I want.
yeah,
Correct, and
he's
that's
already
something
looking
to
at that.
consider.
Yeah.
So let me get into it. Let me get your thing. I know you hate your team. I know maybe this move pulled you right back in. Who knows where you're at with the Raiders? Um, what's up? Tell me. Is this good? Bad? Do you wish you had Devontae still? Tell me.
Uh, it's decent. Look, I like it in a sense that we don't have to pull the trigger on anything crazy. Like get a guy like Jackson Dart, or we have to trade up compensation for a guy in Cam Ward who, I mean, some people are not even all that confident about. It's really hot and cold with certain guys. You talk about a guy like Shador Sanders. We're not put in a position where we have to go after need. We have Gino. Gino's fine. We just did the quarterback tiers. He's a vet for rent. He's obviously a rental for the Raiders. He's not the long-term answer, but it puts you in a position where you don't have to panic. You don't have to make a crazy move. The Raiders are capable of winning some football games next year with Geno Smith. Geno Smith is a B plus quarterback. He's nothing more. He's nothing less. Depending on how much you're going to pay him, because they still haven't restructured his contract, I think he's going to get paid a little bit more coming up soon.
I don't think it'll matter in the grand scheme of things because by the time you have to like once the next decision happens for Geno Smith, you'll be looking to replace him already, if
Yeah.
not have the replacement for him.
Yeah.
And it's all good. Like, so what you spent $40 million on him the next 2 years?
Yeah.
It's
But
no
I
big
like it.
deal.
I like
Doesn't
it.
matter.
Look, it's nothing
Yeah.
crazy as far as like a game changer, but it's just the reality of things. And I think the Raiders are
It's a
learning.
move in the right direction
Yeah,
for sure. It
and
has
the
to be.
Raiders are learning from their mistakes, bro. Last year, they put themselves in a position where they were fucked. If they didn't go for a quarterback, and look what happened. You fire your coach, you went, 4-12, whatever it was, because you didn't have one, because you didn't want to pull the trigger. So you're not in that position. You're in a position where if you don't get one of these guys, cool, fine. If you do get one of these guys, perfect. Let them sit. We have Gino. You're good to go. We don't have to go all in on this year or all out. So I like it. I give the move a B plus.
I
Gino
agree. I would agree.
Geno Smith. I mean, look at the tape, bro. Like he's a good quarterback. He's nothing special, but he's good. Sam Darnold, on the other hand, I would be more scared to pay Sam. I'm kind of shocked that the Seahawks moved on from Geno Smith to Sam Darnold. How do you feel about that?
No, I absolutely agree, and I think it's smart here to transition to talking about the Seahawks as a collective because signing Sam Darnold was not the first move they did, or sorry, it wasn't the last move they did. So to recap, sign Sam Darnold big money, trade away DK Metcalf to Pittsburgh, cut Tyler Lockett. I just don't see why you would weaken Sam Darnold's ability. I think we all know Sam Darnold is a quarterback that has a cap or a ceiling or like we know where he is, right? We know like this is the best he can be. I have a hard time thinking Sam Darnold's got better years than last year in his back. And you weaken the support system around him because if you think about Minnesota, what they have want a good old line, run game, pass game, offensive guru at coach. And to go to the Seahawks where I think we've been saying it for 10 years now. Their O line sucks. Haven't fixed that problem.
Right.
And I think that speaks to the organization as a whole. You can't fix a problem for 10 years,
Yeah.
especially an O line problem. It's not the quarterback. That's trickier than the O line, right? But it's just the fact you've never been able to do that. Jackson Smith and Jigba's there. I know they have Jake Bobo. They have some fun guys, but overall, I'm not a big fan of this move. I know it doesn't tie you up forever, right?
Yeah.
And I think it kind of just made me think, why didn't you just restart the rebuild last year? You would have
Right.
got more for DK. You got
Mhm.
what, a round 2 pick for DK? Big deal.
Yeah.
Geno Smith's what, a 5th or 6th round pick? That's not really going to help you.
That's the problem I have, Max, is why didn't we do this
It was a
sooner?
year late.
Yeah, a year
I mean,
late.
don't get me wrong. I'm gonna love watching George Pickens and DK crash out when Russell or whoever's throwing the ball doesn't throw it to him. But for Seahawks, they've done some things on the defensive side that excite me, and I'm like, okay, that's Mike McDonald, right? Like, go get some big bodies, Demarcus Lawrence. I get it. Again, but the quarterback thing, Sam Darnold, like to me, it could be a big regression next year, and it's kind of like, well, that's what happened, and it's not necessarily all on him. It's kind of well, you weakened everything around him,
Yeah.
right? Like, who scares you? Who scares you on that team?
It's really just Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think it's confirmed last year when DK got hurt, and wasn't playing well. Jackson Smith and Jigba really did pop out. I remember the list that we were doing. I forgot what list it was. As far buy or
Was a
sell
buy
or hold.
sell. Well, I'll say this one: you have to account for one thing. DK Metcalf's one of the few NFL players that contains a gravity field, and what I mean by that is when teams go against a guy like that. Same thing with Tyreek Hill in his prime. It's like we kind of have to play a certain type of way where we have to, like, it lessens the load for everybody else. If that makes sense, would you not agree?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
just even him being out there, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, it just made life a little easier
The
for
Steph
everybody. And
Curry
now it's
effect.
like, yeah, he's got the Steph Curry effect, and
Yeah,
that's a rare thing in today's NFL. That's why when you have to sign a guy to a $30 million contract, you still get a high pick,
yeah.
a somewhat high pick.
But I think what they expected from Jackson Smith, they finally seen it. He broke out
Yeah.
and he
And
proved.
I'm sure they were tired of DK. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I,
And
I
part
heard
of
this on
this
I heard this one who has the most personal foul penalties for a receiver since DK
DK
Metcalf got
Metcalf,
got second most?
George
George
Pickens.
Pickens. Yeah, awesome. Awesome.
I
Yeah.
can't
Let's just
wait.
start fighting.
They
I
need to
know,
come
I
out to
know.
NBA young boy straight up out of the locker
Yeah,
room. It'll be a
yeah,
great
yeah,
sight.
yeah, 100%. So
Um,
sorry, continue. I cut you off. Go ahead.
no, no, you're good. I think the second thing why this makes so much sense, if you want to look at it deeper, it's low key cleaning house as far as this Pete Carroll thing. A lot of these guys were
Mhm.
Pete Carroll's guys. Tyler Lockett, he's been there forever with Pete Carroll. DK
Oh, he's been
Metcalf, a
talked
Pete
about
Carroll
being
guy.
cut for like 10 years now. It seems like
Yeah,
he's like CJ McCollum. Like, when are we gonna trade him? Let's trade
yeah.
him. Let's cut him.
So it's really building, their own culture, with the new guys that they have with McDonald and Snyder starting to move on from that Pete Carroll era. And that's part of it. I just don't like that it was a year late. And I'm skeptical of Sam Darnold. Shut me up, do it a second season. I'll shut up. I'll believe it. I have a hard time trying to turn a blind eye and look at the context and the situation that Sam Darnold was in. It was with Kevin O'Connell. He had one of the best receiver,
I
if
mean, you've
not
been
the
you've been
best
saying
receiver.
that since like week 8 of
And it's
last year.
hard.
It
And
wasn't
Seattle
just
doesn't have
yeah.
that. Sorry, Seattle does not
No.
have
I
that.
mean, Seattle doesn't have the infrastructure too where you feel
No,
confident in a guy.
no.
And honestly, one, I think it's a perfect segue to talk about the Vikings. I think they made absolutely the right decision not paying Sam Darnold what, 30 million, 35-ish million.
Yeah.
I
So a
mean,
couple of their
you have to
moves.
love what they've done. Yeah.
Yeah. So they re-signed Aaron Jones, which I love. The two guys that, or really the three, is Jonathan Allen. They signed
I
defensive
can't
tackle,
I cannot believe they signed him. I could not
$51 million.
believe it.
dollars. Javon Hargraves, who came out of San Francisco, kind of a guy that's ready to prove it. And Byron Murphy, cornerback, who I really like, has played solid the last couple years, has been switching some teams here and there, but Byron Murphy, with the Minnesota Vikings. And another one under the radar, your guy, they got Isaiah Rodgers. That's a good backup.
Yeah. No, I was upset when I think he's going to do a little bit more than be a backup for them. If you take out Sam Darnold, if you put Sam Darnold back on the Vikings and take him out or whatever, you don't get 3 of those players.
Yeah.
I was shocked to see Washington cut Jonathan Allen and then replace him with Javon Kinlaw. We'll talk about that in a bit, but the defense was as good as it could be last year with the talent it had. Like, there's no way it could be better without getting a talent infusion. And
Yes.
now it's not like, oh, we don't have to blitz to get pressure. Now we have 2 ass kickers up front. Granted, injury concerns with both of them, but we have 2 good edges, right?
Yes.
We have an edge in waiting,
Yes.
Dallas Turner, who could pop anytime.
Right.
And now we got 2 big boys in the middle who aren't just run stoppers. Jonathan Allen, to me, is still one of the better interior linemen in football.
Yeah. Completely agree.
Terrific move. And I think this signals one thing. I think it's JJ McCarthy time. I don't think they're going to go after Rodgers. I don't think they're going to do that because that'd just be hilarious. The Brett Favre comparisons
I would love this podcast. It's going to drop Friday morning, and I would love for Aaron Rodgers to just make a decision. Fuck us. Very.
Oh, yeah.
Very fitting for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And him sign with the Vikings. I think it will be a terrible decision. I would want them to go with JJ, but I do see a world of that shit working. Just like we said, the infrastructure that the Vikings are.
Yeah.
They're built. They're not the Jets.
We have to. I think they got Aaron Banks as well. No.
No.
Did
So the 2 linemen. I know people don't like linemen,
Who'd
but
they
these are the underrated moves that we're talking about. Will Fries, 5-year, $88 million.
Oh, so good.
And
Great
they got
move.
Ryan Kelly.
Yeah.
They upgraded at center.
I know they got the Colts left side. What's up with that? Or right side?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I couldn't believe. I was like, that's really smart. They had so much money to spend, and this is what you do when you have a quarterback on a rookie contract. You spend.
Yes.
We know they have 2 good tackles. I know Darisaw got hurt last year. The interior part of their line has been a problem.
What happened
They
in their
improved
playoff
greatly.
game, Max? What happened?
Everyone. Pressure from everywhere.
Yes.
It wasn't just, it was the whole line. You've redid 2 positions. You're getting Darisaw back. That's like a third.
Yes.
You're redoing your line. It's great job.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you're going to play JJ McCarthy next year, you don't want him to worry, like go through what Caleb Williams did as a rookie. Another team like the Vikings who saw a problem, addressed it, have a rookie quarterback. If you want to get into the Bears, sorry, that wasn't trying to segue unless you're done.
No segue.
But
you read my mind.
I love what the Bears did.
I love it. I love the fact that, Ben Johnson has Ben Johnson written all over it.
Oh, 100%. That's what I'm talking about, where sometimes the coach can call the shots just as much as the GM, because they just gave Ben Johnson for $50 million, whatever they gave him. Yeah. He has a say.
Yeah.
It's not like Dallas's coach who's like, oh, whatever you say, boss. Jerry, please.
So Chicago did it in a little bit different way. They traded for their 2 pieces. They traded for Jonah Jackson from the Rams, who was with Ben Johnson with the Lions. And then they also traded
last year.
Yeah, who also traded for Joe Thuney from the Kansas City Chiefs. I know he struggled this season because he was playing out of position. He was playing left tackle.
Not a tackle. Yeah,
but as a guard, he's fucking amazing. He's an all-pro. They also signed Drew Dahlman, a new center. So they literally reworked their whole line and kept what was working. Darrell Wright wasn't the problem. Like, it was all their interior.
No, Darnell Wright. Yeah. And actually, I don't mind their left tackle. His name eludes me.
I'm forgetting his name.
Braxton Jones.
Yes,
solid guy.
Yeah.
What I don't understand, and just like going to Atlanta, you have a rookie quarterback too, and you want to lose a good lineman? We know how hard good linemen are to find one. We know it's not easy. So the fact they basically redid 3 out of the 5 positions, well, they redid the whole interior. For a guy like Caleb Williams, the interior is more important than a guy like, I don't know, let's say Tom Brady in his prime. He wasn't really worried about the edges as much because he's just going to step up into that pocket. But when Caleb Williams tried to step up last year,
it wasn't
happening. He was going to get cracked.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams, like Mahomes, can just escape the edge pressure like almost at will.
Yeah.
But absolutely good move for them. Now the defense still needs work, and they signed Dio, the edge rusher, who's going to be a good little like compliment to Montez Sweat. Maybe
they also signed.
He pops off.
They also signed underrated player in the NFL probably every single year, Grady Jarrett, who got released by the Falcons. He's a guy that can pop for them. Look, the Bears are not flashy. Linemen are never flashy. It always goes under the radar with linemen. You see them sign for $80 million. No one knows who the fuck these guys are. This is how you build football teams. This is how you build them. You get great free agents for the right price and guys who are most likely going to hit. Joe Thuney, most likely going to hit. Jonah Jackson, most likely going to hit. He played with Ben Johnson. He knows the run
Yeah,
scheme. He fits
he got
perfect.
paid playing under Ben Johnson, and he went to the Rams. I mean, you loved it. And we're like, oh, good job.
And he was
And
hurt
he was
last year.
horrible for them. Yeah, he was hurt and was bad when he played.
Yeah.
And Ben Johnson saw a huge weakness. He saw it firsthand twice. And he's like, we're going to fix this. And one other thing, Juan, and this is what we talked about the draft. In my mind, there's no way the Bears go after an offensive lineman in the first round now. I think their problem is solved.
Mhm.
Maybe if somebody you have as a top 5 talent falls all the way to whatever they're picking. But now it's like, okay, now we can go now we don't have to worry about getting a guard. We can go get, I don't know. And I did a mock draft with the Know It All crew on Sunday, and I was like, this mock draft's going to be wrong as soon as we're done. We said that because
free agency
positions of need change.
Yeah.
They absolutely change.
Yeah. Every time, every day it can change. We don't know what's going on, but I love what the Bears did. Okay. I have really good confidence. It's gonna be hard not to fall in love with them this offseason as a team that can go worst to first, improve that record. They got so many good things going on for them. Really, it's gonna be put on Caleb Williams. Like, if you can't do it now, when are you gonna do it? This has to be the year where you show something. Let's go to a quarterback who has shown something. I want to talk about the Commanders, man. The Commanders have been making some fucking deals. So I'm gonna go with the two that stand out, that a lot of people know about. Deebo Samuel, he got traded a week ago
Ugh.
for fifth round
Ugh.
pick. I like it though. They have a bunch of money
I don't.
because of the rookie contract. It's a high risk, a low risk, high reward type of guy. Say
Correct.
what you want about Deebo.
And you're not paying him for 5 years. He's on the book for one more year.
Yeah, he's on the book for
And,
one more
and
year.
he's got something to prove.
And and if he winds up being fucking fat and out of shape, cut him next year. Bye. Cool. Whatever. Yeah, I think I love the move. It's for a fifth round pick. You have a guy that's hungry. We'll see what happens with Deebo. I like it. Plus, you're not buying him to be the first receiver. You're buying him to be the second or even the third, depending on who they draft. They still got room to draft.
Correct.
So
Correct.
they got him and they got Laramie Tunsil from the Texans.
That one, I can't believe they traded Laramie Tunsil to the Texans. Why do you people trade left tackles who are good?
That one is tough. Yeah. So he had the most penalties last year.
He had a down year, but still, like, overall, yeah, you weaken something that was already a problem.
Yeah.
That's my logic, is like, what? Why would we do that? Okay, so tell me your thing. I mean, maybe you can sell it to me. Sell me it.
With the Texans, how it's not so bad.
Yeah, how is it not bad?
I think part of that has to do with like the Bobby Slowick thing. Like, they got rid of Bobby Slowick. I think
they cleaned house.
Yeah, they're not re-signing Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is done. They're probably not going to have Tank Dell next year. I think they're kind of revamping, and I really do think they're going to switch their mindset to defense. I think defense is going to be their calling card next year. Going into last year, it was all about the offense. They're like, how are you going to stop the Houston Texans? Joe Mixon, Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Nico Collins. It's steering towards the defense. The defense massively improved. They got a couple of signings. We'll get into them later. But Laramie Tunsil, I just don't think it fit their plans. I think you moved off of him a year early, which is perfect. He can go on the downslide this year. Get ahead while you can. I'm not mad at it.
I like the move for the Commanders. You get a franchise left tackle, a guy who could bounce back in a bounce back big way. Let's be real. Laramie Tunsil's been one of the 5 best tackles in football for the majority of his career, right?
Yeah.
He's just been like on some of the worst situations, like the tanking Dolphins, the tanking Texans.
Yeah.
But for the Commanders side, gives you some flexibility. We know they're going to be without Samuel Cosmi for a big part of their year, and that's a guard.
Yeah.
Their O-line wasn't anything special last year. I think Cliff and Jalen Daniels made it a lot better. And again, I love the move for Jalen Daniels. It's like, hey, let's make sure we can keep our guy healthy.
Yeah, and they're just, they're able to spend money. Laramie Tunsil has a big contract. Deebo Samuel has a big contract. They have a rookie quarterback. Another guy that they paid a lot of money that you talked about earlier, Javon Kinlaw $45
Why?
million, $30
Was the
million,
market that hot?
$30 million
Was the block
guaranteed.
hot? Who were you bidding against? He had
I
like again. You know how much I hate to bring up the stats. He only had like 2.5 sacks last year. He didn't play that great. I watched the Jets a lot. You play next to Quinnen Williams, Hassan Reddick, Jermaine Johnson, the McDonald kid. What what are you talking about?
yeah,
Why? Jonathan Allen for 3 more million is way better.
yeah. I don't
I don't
get it.
know.
I think it's part of it that relationship soured with Jonathan Allen. The antics that he had on the sidelines, getting heated and shit. There was a lot of history, the way that he talked about the team in the media, which is not. I'm not mad at him for doing it. They
Yeah,
sucked.
yeah, yeah. Come on, they had one good year, and it's been shit show the rest of the time.
Yeah,
He's not allowed to be frustrated.
yeah.
I mean, they lost some other guys too. Um, Lost Jeremy Chin, who was big for them. Went to Raider great.
Very great.
Um, I still wouldn't be surprised if they cut Marshawn Lattimore and moved on.
And I think no, Lattimore's gonna stay. I heard some things about him. They're like excited about him, saying that he's gonna bounce back because he was injured last year. But I
You just
think
have to
another
see
the
Mike Evans.
yeah, he's gonna
Yeah,
love to see Mike.
just AJ
Uh
Brown, who's like a bigger asshole to him. Yeah,
an underrated signing for them though, they got back Marcus Mariota, which I think is big, especially when you have a guy like Jaden Daniels on your team who runs a lot, who is most likely gonna get hurt. He got hurt last year. Um, so I think that's big. Bringing in Marcus Mariota, a vet. I like Mariota as a backup. Those are the signings that I love to see in free agency. It's like, hey, let's get a backup quarterback. Look at the Chiefs. I hate Gardner Minshew as a starter, but they signed him as a backup today. And it's like, I love that. If Mahomes goes down, Gardner can manage it for 1 or 2 games. That's what you want your backup to do. Hold down the fort for 1 to 2 games.
and they did keep a bunch of their guys. You know, they
Zach
got Eddie
Ertz.
Goldman, solid. They got Zach Ertz. They kept Bobby Wagner, who's big.
Yeah.
Um, Overall, I think they made a couple splashy moves and a couple other moves that kind of had my head scratching. And I would have thought they'd be a touch more aggressive having Jaden Daniels' contract on the books. So
Yeah, they have a
you know,
lot of
you'd
money.
kind of want to see them. You'd kind of want to see them go after a few more high priority guys, like maybe a corner, because cornerback market exploded this offseason, which is
Yeah.
ridiculous. So
Well, I want to talk a little bit about the Texans, just a little bit.
okay,
They wound up trading for CJ Gardner Johnson, your boy. So I want to kind of tie this up with your team and really hit on some guys that you guys lost because a lot of your guys got paid in this free agency and there were low key backups. This shows you how
yeah.
deep the Eagles were. So the Eagles
Well,
winded
here,
up trading
no, go
for
ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Kenyon Green and
Yeah,
exchange for CJ Gardner Johnson and swapped out a couple of 5th and 6th round
picks,
picks.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How do you feel about it, Max?
I really think Charlie, CJ Gardner Johnson brought an edge to the defense, like a FU and attitude, which is kind of you can't really measure that on the stat sheet, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's some antics, but you love those guys when they're on your team, don't you, Juan? You
Yes.
just love those guys just getting in their head, and he was a baller, ball hawk. I was shocked to see it. I think it's really tough to not trust Howie Roseman. Obviously, Kenyon Green coming to town kind of signifies to me Mekhi Becton's priced himself out. I would love him back for cheap, but I hope he gets paid. He's been through a lot in his career. It it was a weird trade for sure. I was kind of surprised, but it's kind of tough because like you have to kind of trust the Eagles, right?
Yes.
Even though you're like, damn, we signed Bryce Huff last year and he didn't do jack shit. We still won a Super Bowl. So it's tough. I think it's a good move for the future because I think we're lining stuff up for the future because we got guys we got to pay. But to speak about one move we did make, Zach Bond's thing was absolute critical. Thank God that we got him.
Yeah.
Thank the
Well,
Lord.
I think part of it too, Max, is you guys have earned the reputation, and I'm not mad at any lineman you guys get because now I think even higher about
Yeah,
Kenyon
Stoutland,
Green.
you. Yeah, now
You
you're
said,
like, damn, Kenyon Green's a really good guard next year.
yeah,
What
it's not
happened?
it's not gonna surprise me. You guys, come on, you guys have a rugby player playing at an all-pro level at left tackle. I mean, that's just the
Correct. Yeah.
reality. You guys get
My
Mekhi
goat.
Becton, fucking trash for the Jets, injured. He's playing fucking amazing for you guys the next year. So I love the Kenyon Green. I love the direction you guys are holding in on. Hey, let's get a lineman in here. Let's get ahead of this. We're gonna lose Makai Becton. Let's get a guy in Kenyon Green. CJ Gardner Johnson, on the other hand, goes to the
Helps the
Texans.
Texans too. Yeah, they
I
need that edge. They
I
could use that
I
edge.
love what the Texans did on defense. I just want to say a couple guys.
Mhm.
They re-signed Derek Barnett. They got Daryl Taylor, another edge who I think is underrated for $5.25 million was his cheap. Mario Edwards, re-signing him. They got Sheldon Rankins, a guy who was hurt last year. I think he's gonna fit amazing in this scheme with the Houston Texans. And CJ Gardner Johnson, like I said, like I love the direction that they're going as far as like, let's hang our hat on defense. Let's go in all in on this defense team. They got Derek Stingley, Jalen Petrie. Now they got CJ Gardner Johnson. They got Kalen Bullock from USC
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah, and Gardner's a guy you could slide into to the slot, excuse me, as I fumble over my words. The slot, he can be a little nickel back.
Yeah.
Just the attitude, though, is gonna be huge for them. I think
Yes.
it's gonna make them be like, "F you, we're the be—" Like, when you play the Chiefs, you need a guy like CJ Gardner Johnson who'll just get in your face and be like, "Damn, this guy is crazy.
Yeah.
He's crazy."
Now let's get into probably the biggest spender in free agency. They went out and they got your boy. Let's talk about the New England Patriots. Mike Vrabel coming in and making some fucking moves, man.
He
They,
said he was gonna be a spender. He said it.
yeah.
He's right.
What do you think about the Patriots' moves, Max?
Milton Williams for $26 million is a little rich for my taste. He's a great player, but I think it's a bit of an overpay. I'm rooting for him. Obviously, Philly guy, but you have the money to play with, right? We know this. You could go back to every Super Bowl champion. One player off that team who was good gets paid. For the Ravens, it was what? Philip Wheeler. Who was the white edge rusher they had? He got paid. Oh my
For
goodness, what
who?
was his
For
name?
who? For the Ravens?
Baltimore. Yeah, the white
Paul
edge
Kruger.
rusher. Paul Kruger. Paid.
Yeah.
100%. Like, that's what happens to teams that win a Super Bowl. At key starters go get paid. And when you have the money, no big deal. So I like the move. They did some other things. They got Carlton Davis, really like that move.
I
Harold Landry. I
just
think Harold Landry is a bargain just waiting to happen.
Yeah, I think all these guys are very solid, man. I was very jealous on what the Patriots did. I thought they spent their money wisely, and they got guys, Max, that are culture guys. They're not guys
Yeah.
that are flashy.
Vrabel's building something.
It's
Yeah.
really,
Vrabel's
really
building
the
something.
only guy that I'm kind of, about, and I'm kind of confident about it because it's Vrabel's guy. Is really just Harold Landry. That's really the only guy. But Robert Spillane, coming from a Raider fan, it's a guy that you love to have. He's a Mike linebacker. He has the green dot on his head. He's gonna go out. He's gonna play
He's
fucking
out
hard. He's
there
the
every
leader.
snap.
Yeah,
Every
he's
snap
gonna
he's
he's
there.
gonna lay it out. Carlton Davis, he's been great. He played amazing last year for the Lions. He fits that Lions DNA, that grittiness, that fucking savageness in him. Uh, and then they got Milton Williams, a guy with a bunch of talent. And he was the prize. He was the prize of free agency. He was the number one player on a lot of guys' boards, and they got him. They wanted up outbidding the Carolina Panthers, in fact.
Yeah.
So I love what Vrabel's doing. They sign a guy in Mac Hollins, another guy that's just a grinder. Like he's just gonna go in.
Morgan Moses is going to be
Yeah.
a big help for that O line that was so bad for
Yeah.
Drake May. And I mean, obviously, though, they didn't make enough moves where you're like, okay, they're not going to take a tackle. No, that's still on the possibility. But one thing they did is, I think the move's not going to be defense to start the
Yeah.
draft because they really bolster their defense.
N-
And they already had some key pieces in place where you're like, damn, I still love Kyle Duggar, still like him. Christian
Now,
Gonzalez is a stud.
now I feel like Max, they're licking their chops at Travis Hunter. That just screams like if Travis Hunter's on the board, they're picking him. There's no doubt in my mind if he falls. So I bet they're hoping for that. They're not tied to anything no more. This is part of it. Like I said with the Raiders, you don't want to be putting yourself in a position in the draft where your hands are tied behind your back, where you're forced to make a move off your roster. Like you have to.
Yeah,
Like, oh fuck,
necessity.
we don't have this. This is a need. This is a huge need. It's such a big hole. You want to go into the draft with the least amount of holes as possible. You want to build guys. You want to be able to take the best player available because those are the guys that wind up getting the best value and wind up being most of the time the best guy on the board. So I love what the Patriots did. Kind of jealous. Mike Vrabel's doing a hell of a job, man. Let's talk about another quarterback under the radar. Let's go stay in the AFC East. Justin Fields winds up signing a 2-year deal, $40 million, $30 million guaranteed with the New York Jets. Max, what is your thoughts on Justin Fields with the Jets?
I think the Jets had this weird thing where a lot of the quarterbacks couldn't go to them. I there was no way they were like, "Hey, Sam Darnold, do you remember that like how we almost killed your career? You want to come back and do it again?" So it's like no to them. Aaron Rodgers is like, "No, thank you." Russell Wilson, they're like, "We just had Aaron Rodgers. We definitely don't need whatever bullshit you're selling."
Yeah.
Who else? Who else was out there? So it was kind of necessity.
Yeah.
And I think Aaron Glenn's seen Justin Fields a good amount of times. And I think the brand of football they're going to try to play is defense, ball control, run the ball, and hope for an explosive play. And Justin Fields is capable of winning you some games, and he's going to lose you some. And it's a good, I think they're like 1 year away from being a year away because they need to rebuild this roster. They lost DJ Reed, which is who was their best corner last year by far, went to the Lions. That move was questionable to me, Juan, because Aaron Glenn, you just got there. You're going to let a cornerback leave? Like someone who's kind of like you, like small, gritty, grindy?
To me,
Overall,
they're paying the wrong guy because they're doing that for Sauce.
yeah. What? You love Sauce. You're the best. You're the best. What are you talking about?
I know. But that's why they're doing it.
The Justin Fields move, I like. Letting the DJ Reed leave, did not like. I think Justin Fields will be a serviceable guy for 2 years, maybe a year. And hey, maybe you strike gold and he just becomes a guy.
Yeah.
Why not?
Low risk, high reward. Look, to me, it screams we're going to run the football. Aaron Glenn wants to run the football, and Justin Fields brings that running ability. I think they're going to run the fucking air out of the ball, man. They got two great running backs in Brees Hall and Braylon Allen. I love it. And plus, he has a rapport with Garrett Wilson, teaming up with the Ohio State teammate. I like it. I've always been a big fan of Justin Fields. The guy was 6-1 before he lost the starting job. I know he wasn't playing terrific. He was winning games though, and I've always been a Justin Fields guy. I'm holding on to that stock, man. If it doesn't work out with the Jets and he doesn't show something, I'll give it up. But until then, I'm always gonna have some faith in Justin Fields.
I still got my Mac Jones stock, and I think it's about to. It might split
Rise.
because going to the 49ers, we got to talk about the amount of players we had leave them. But man, Mac Jones, Kyle Shannon was like, "Hey, if this ain't admitting you messed up on Trey Lance." By the way, hold on. Did you see the bullshit report? Trey Lance's. There's not really a market for him.
Oh,
really?
You think so?
Teams don't want quarterbacks that suck. And they go, yeah, teams view him as a high upside quarterback 3. I'm like, he's been a high upside quarterback 3 for 5 years. Like, you can't even get to QB2, you bum.
Yeah.
So that's it. Sorry, that was my little rant. But yeah, the 49ers, I think we have to talk about them. And
so they lost Kyle Juszczyk. He got released.
Yeah.
They lost
that
Hufanga.
Was a surprise. That was a surprise to say the least.
They lost Hufanga. Hufanga winds up going to the Broncos. They lost Dre Greenlaw, who also went to the Broncos.
Yeah. Sean Payton. Yeah.
Yeah. They
Javon
lost
Hargrave.
Debo. They lost Debo.
Yeah. And Joey Bosa.
They lost Joey Bosa to the Bills, technically. They got outpaid.
That was, the Bills.
And Chardavius Ward.
Von Miller. Yeah, Tre'Davious Ward to the Colts. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the Bills don't learn their lesson with old pass rushers who aren't that good anymore, but it's cool. I mean, you got to pay Brock Purdy $50 million. That's what happens.
This is what happens, but a lot of people are shitting on the Niners, man, and I don't think it's that big of a deal. It had to be done. It had to be done. This is what happens this is why the rookie contract is so important in the NFL with the quarterbacks. We're just talking about it with Caleb and Jaden Daniels. I'm not saying that you have a Super Bowl window with the rookie quarterback, but you have this window to overpay guys. This is when you get the guys. Sign them early. If guys are doing good, sign them right away. Don't wait like the Cincinnati Bengals fucking do to the last moment and you have to pay a shit ton of money. Pay them now. And you're going to wind up losing some depth when you have to pay a guy in the quarterback position. And that's what's happening. And in all honesty, I'm not mad at some of their losses. Like Dre Greenlaw, he's a good player, but he's been hurt. Hufunga, he's a guy that gets hurt. Hughes check. It's time to move on. Like he's just
That one surprised me because I thought he'd be like a 49er for the rest of
for
his career. I
life.
thought
Yeah.
maybe you restructure his contract. I will say this, I agree with you. It's not like, oh, the 49ers can't win a Super
Some
Bowl
people
now.
are like outraged. They're like,
Yeah,
"Oh
like
my god, they're
yeah,
done." I
no.
don't think they're done. Like,
I mean, what do you think they did like you think drafting Ricky Pearsall in the first round when they already had 3 good wide receivers was a move for this year? No, it was a move
and
because they
this is
knew the writing on
where
the wall. One of the guys had to go.
yeah. And
One of
this
them
is
had
where
to
the
go.
casual comes in, Max. They drafted very well. They've drafted a guy in Ricardo Green from Florida State. He's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
good. They got Lenore.
Jair
They
Brown is solid.
They got
Jair Brown is solid.
Mustafa. Like that
Yeah,
kid can fuck.
solid.
They have guys in place, dude. You guys
They
just don't know
drafted
about him.
Lenore. Yeah, I mean, I will say this: they definitely need a number one corner. They definitely have
Yes.
some holes they need to
Yeah, they
fill,
got
but
holes. They
that's
got
what the
holes.
draft's for. I will say this: they're going to be put in a bind though if they sign Brock Purdy to huge money. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just facts.
This is not to the point of 49ers 2012. That was an
No,
RIP to
no,
the Niners.
that's
That's
the
on another
greatest
level.
worst offseason in NFL history.
So
The offseason from hell.
before we get into to a couple more things, I want to stay on the topic of people looking at it like from an aspect that they did bad, and I want to put some grace on it. The New York Giants. A lot of people are talking shit about the Giants, talking about they what the fuck they're signing.
I just think it's bad optics one where it's like you don't want to pay Saquon that money, but it's like, okay, Darius
Right.
Slayton, you can have it. Even though I think they've had a decent free agency. I mean, Javon Holland's a stud.
They
Great,
look,
great pickup.
I love myself some Javon Holland. I love
Yeah.
Javon
I mean,
Holland,
we
dude.
still don't have a quarterback or no line, but
Right?
yeah, we got him.
Yeah, I think they're a quarterback away from being decent. If they can get Cam Ward,
Yeah.
if they can get Cam
Either
Ward,
not. I don't
yeah,
think so.
they're gonna have to pay. But I love two moves in particular. I love the Paulson Adebo and I love Javon Holland. I
Yeah, correct.
love those
Yeah,
signings,
100%.
and I think
Big improvements.
Darius Slayton is not bad. I don't think he's all that bad.
No.
So
I
I
think they've
just
let a lot of good players leave, which just
yeah,
makes everything seem like, oh my God, why do we let Julian Love leave? Why do we let
yeah.
this guy Odell?
Xavier
I'm not Odell,
McKinney.
Saquon leave. Yeah, yeah. Why we let him out the building?
Yeah,
Like you could have just given all that money to somebody your fans already loved.
right.
So
Oh my goodness. Okay. Who else did you want to hit on, Max? Is there any teams in particular?
I think we should talk about the Dolphins for just a second.
Yeah.
They've done
Wait.
nothing. They got Zach Wilson.
Well, let's throw the
I,
Cowboys
are you,
along with that one.
oh, Dolphins and Cowboys.
So the Cowboys really just re-signed guys. I had seen something the other day, Max, which I was kind of shocked. I think the Cowboys have never signed anyone for more than like I want to say like 50 or 60 million, something like that. It was a certain number.
No, they said they haven't signed someone over $6 million a year since Greg Hardy left. And I was like, man, Greg Hardy
That's
just left
wild. That's
left
wild
that team in
though.
such a
Think
state. They're like,
think about how
I know,
long ago
but
that
think about when
was.
you were a kid and it was like T.O.
Yeah.
T.O.'s coming. And you're
And
like, oh my
everyone
God.
always wants to say that the Cowboys are so splashy, but they're really not.
No,
They're
they're
really not.
brokies. They got the Lambeau parked outside the mobile home.
So they got Oza.
No, that was a good move. Good, smart move.
They
They
re-signed
needed
their
to keep him.
guys. I'll give them that. They re-signed their guys.
Yeah, but they're just hamstrung because they have to go pay Miles Garrett just effed it up for Miles Garrett. I mean, sorry, Miles Garrett effed it up for Micah because that was $40 million. By the way, that killed my dream of getting Miles Garrett to the Eagles, but that's okay. I'll live. But no, Miles Garrett, Micah Parsons is going to get $41 million, and you're like, holy shit, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, the
And
Dolphins
this
didn't
is
do
where
much.
I talk about there's no team in football that's paying wide receiver 1 money, wide receiver or quarterback 2 money, elite edge money. We don't have that.
I want to
And
say
that's
this
why
though.
they're so freaking hamstrung.
I want to say this. I think it's possible. I just think you need to have the optics right. And I think a good formula, Max, is look at the Eagles. If you look at how their team's structured, everything is hitting in like 3 years. And I think it's so obvious. Like if you have a good numbers guy, I think the cap has went up from I think like 7 years ago. It has like more than double.
150 million or something. Yeah, it went
Yeah,
up.
it's
I,
fucking
but
crazy.
but the Eagles are smart. Where the Cowboys, they waited too long with CeeDee Lamb. They waited way too long with Dak Prescott. Waiting with Micah is just gonna hurt.
Yeah, like I
It's just
said,
gonna add millions.
you need a
Like you said about the Bengals.
yeah.
Stop waiting. Sign Jamar fucking Chase before
Yeah. Every
someone
day
else
that goes
breaks it.
by, every day that goes by, I'm just like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
And by the way, Josh Allen was smart, and the Bills haven't really done much, but they signed Josh Allen to a huge 6-year, 330. He's like, yeah, I'll take a little less.
Why
You're
not?
smart.
Sign him
What can you?
now. Don't wait.
What's 50 and 55?
Don't wait. You know he's gonna be on your team for the next 2 years. If you know he's gonna be on your team for the next 2 years, sign him. Don't worry about that money. Pay him all up front right now. Or push it back, whatever. Make it fucking work. There's ways to make it work. Look at the Eagles, man. The Eagles are the fucking blueprint. The way that they structure their
No,
contracts.
don't listen to the Saints. No bueno.
Don't
No
yeah, the
bueno.
Saints. No, that's not the
No,
blueprint.
no, no. They're just like
Another team that didn't really do much, along with the Cowboys and the Dolphins. How do you feel about the Chargers? The Chargers, they were supposed to be big spenders, going into it. I've seen a lot of previews on free agency.
I mean, not Najee was cool. Like, that's a cool move. They were like, all right, we already got the most we can out of J.K. Dobbins. He's not coming back.
Yeah.
But other than that, they got cutting Joey Bosa was big for them.
Yeah, they re-signed Mac. They re-signed Denzel Perryman. I think the only two signings that were really big were
Mike
corners.
Williams was back.
Mike Will. But
God,
they got Dante Jackson and Elijah Molden.
Like that.
Yeah,
like that.
2 corners. They're losing.
They also got they got St. Juiced from. Well, I like that. I don't think this team is gonna. I think they're gonna build more through the draft, unfortunately, and I think I'm shocked that they didn't go after some wide receivers. But to be honest, there wasn't really like this huge market for them. Like, oh my God, there wasn't AJ Brown or anyone great. I mean, Diami Brown would have been cool, a cool bargain. He went to Jacksonville, but it would have been cool to see Herbert with a deep threat, like a true deep threat.
Yeah.
But they still need some playmakers there for sure.
Yeah.
They've been a little bit more passive than I thought they would have.
This is the time where I'm going to talk about the Raiders. I'll make it quick.
You already talked about them. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but I just want to say on a couple of their signings where this is an example of a team that they lost some guys. They lost Nate Hobbs. They lost Trayvon Moehrig. These guys signed for pretty good chunks of money. Like Green Bay got Nate Hobbs and the Panthers got Trayvon Moehrig.
Trayvon Moehrig got paid.
Yeah, they got paid. And this is part of it, Max. I feel like the Eagles do this a lot, where they let their guys walk, but they wind up getting some bargains like Zach Bond for the equal amount of production. It's kind of like what we talked about in the wide receiver video a couple years ago that we did. It's like if we can just get this guy to come close to the production that this guy was doing, but we're paying him more money, that's a great fucking bargain. And I just feel like the Raiders have a lot of that written all over them. Malcolm Kuntz, a guy that they signed. Luckily, he got hurt, so he signed for less money. They got a Landon Roberts.
If he's healthy, he's going to get paid next year.
Yeah. A Landon Roberts, a guy who has similar numbers to Robert Spillane, but they're paying him $3 million. Eric Stokes, a guy that's getting paid $4 million.
That move.
He can give similar production to Nate Hobbs. Jeremy Chin, he's another guy who can give similar production to Trayvon Moehrig. These are the bargains that you want to have. I just wanted to point that out with the Raiders because I think Spytech is really doing a great job right now with like getting your value, getting your bargains in free agency. That's part of it.
Yeah, I think he got a lot of stopgaps because he knows this is going to be a critical year for young guys. And then maybe next year we actually see them go after someone more expensive, more. Go ahead.
I saved this for last. This is the last topic unless you want another team to talk about.
I don't get to talk about the Eagles for 10 minutes?
No.
Talk about the Raiders? Okay.
I want to talk about Davante Adams going to the Rams. So Davante Adams signs with the Rams.
Oh
it's
my
the last
God,
piece.
he's like an old girlfriend.
How do you feel about Davante Adams?
It's a good move. He'll help their offense. He's a better player than Cooper Kupp. It's just a really hard gut punch to take for the Rams because Cooper Kupp is such a culture and pillar of their team. Let me tell you this: Davante Adams ain't going to block on the run plays like Cooper Kupp did.
That's a fact.
Well, I will say that.
Yeah.
But overall, it's a good move. I'm not a big Davante Adams fan, but he's gonna do a lot more than Cooper Cup's done. I think Cooper Cup. I think we can agree that he's a high end 3, and he's not even a 2 anymore.
Yeah, and the amount of money that he was getting paid. Look, I love the Devontae Adams signing as much as I, shit on him, with this whole Raider thing, and I don't like any sort of way that he handled that whole situation with the Jets and the Raiders. I didn't like the way he was acting. But we talk about it all the time, Max. The infrastructure, like where are you getting put in? The reality is he's getting put with a future Hall of Fame quarterback, in my opinion, and in your opinion, in Matthew Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going with one of the best coaches in the NFL, which is Sean McVay. And this is a new toy for him. And Devontae Adams' game, as much as people want to hate on it, it's going to age very well. I think he has a lot left in the tank as far as his game goes. It's not speed. It's really just intermediate shit. And I love it.
Yeah, route running, body positioning, good hands, great hands. Yeah,
and I think McVay is gonna have some things for this guy. Like Puka Nacua, we know he's the alpha, he's the number one, but he gets hurt a lot.
But their roles are interchangeable to me. Like you could all the things Puka can do, maybe except like he's a little bit more explosive. You could be like, hey Devontae, we need you to work right over here. We need you to do this, bop, bop, bop.
Yeah,
and that's kind of.
Yeah, but I love it. If you're talking to me from a fantasy standpoint, I think it's going to be really good. I think I'm going to draft Devontae, but I love this move for the Rams. I love it for Devontae Adams. I think it's his last chance to really get a ring. He's been close with the Packers, but we'll see what happens. I love it though. A+. I thought that was a move that
it was an A. I just can't give him a plus because I don't like Devontae Adams.
I get you. I feel that. I really do. Because I talked a lot of shit about Devontae, which I still stand on. I really do. I don't like the way he handled that whole situation, and you could agree with it.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Anyone else, Max? Any certain player that you
felt
like?
The Panthers tried to do some stuff. They're getting better. So, I mean, they don't have to support Bryce Young anymore. They redid the whole line, maybe a couple pass catchers in the draft. Panthers are going to be frisky next year, I think. So I think overall it wasn't the craziest free agency we've ever seen. Because, like I said, there was no marquee guys who hit the market. But there's going to be a lot of depth at it, and there's going to be so many bargains. I feel like last year, the big bargain I felt like was Zach Bond, not trying to be an equal homer, but. This year, there's like a lot of bargain. I'm like, damn, that's a bargain. Damn, that's a bargain. Like, to be honest, I think Eric Stokes could have a really good year.
Yeah,
really do.
Yeah,
just because I'm like, damn, Pete Carroll with a long corner.
Yeah,
with dreads. I've seen this story.
As much as I hate to do it, I'm gonna give them a little bit more love. The Denver Broncos. I think they did some things. They signed some guys. They signed almost the whole fucking Niners squad.
So we had every mock draft I would looked at or did had the Broncos taking a tight end, and now I'm like, well, I don't think they're doing that anymore. They got Evan Ingram.
Yeah, and
still good.
And you know what? A lot of people were saying like Evan Ingram's not gonna go nowhere because the tight end position this year in the draft is really strong.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he's still very, very talented. So
hey, Juan, do you want to risk it? Do you want to risk a first round pick on a position that historically
absolutely
sucks?
Not. Absolutely
exactly.
Not.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. And then one more team, the Indianapolis Colts. They got Cameron Bynum, safety, and they got Charvarius Ward, corner.
And Daniel Jones. Interesting one.
And look,
very interesting.
I'm glad you brought up Daniel Jones because I did want to talk about this, how I think this is going to be a low-key under-the-radar storyline. I think he could potentially not beat Anthony
Rich
Richardson.
Till I die. No.
Rich till we die. Agree, Max.
Thank you.
But do you
in Rich we trust.
Do you think Daniel Jones in training camp can make
AR5
look bad?
He's gonna look really good. It'd be like,
and I just find it interesting that Daniel Jones picked the Colts. You know, like
He was like,
fuck shit up over here.
This guy gets hurt and he's not good at throwing. Oh, I like that. Yeah. No, I agree with you. And they could run like the same offense because Daniel Jones is athletic.
Yeah, so it can be a bad look, my guy, for AR5, man. Look, we're both Anthony Richardson fans here. You know, we're pro AR5, but oh man, it's just the Colts, dude. I just wish they would sign a guy that's like, in no question, we will not start this guy.
Yeah. Like, who could they have? Like, Mac Jones, he'd be like, oh, yeah, no.
Even though, not Mac Jones, bro. We can't have Mac Jones. That's too good.
Yeah. Daniel Jones, you're like, Something about
DRT.
Daniel Jones.
DRT would have been perfect. Dorian,
Yeah,
that would have
yeah.
been a perfect
Oh
backup.
yeah, that's Eagle. Hey, Browns got their Super Bowl winning quarterback. Let's go, Kenny Pickett. My go.
There you go. Kenny Pickett's already going in like he's a starter, man. It's a great mentality.
My guy.
All right, guys. That's going to do it for your free agency wrap up. Look, me and Max, as we speak, man, we already have it planned. We got some positions.
We're crunching numbers, boys.
We are crunching numbers, man. We are in the lab. We are fucking watching film 24 fucking 7. Me and Max are going in
Graphics
it.
are being made.
Yeah, so look,
I'm gonna be screaming at one in a couple days.
yeah, so look forward to next week, guys. Next week we'll be dropping some position draft videos for you guys. We already watched the quarterbacks and the receivers, so look out for those, man. Draft season is officially here. We wanted to get out a free agency podcast for you guys, so we hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to turn on post notifications for when we drop those draft videos. We're gonna be making some clips, so big things coming to the channel, man. Max, any last words?
Sneak peek, Riley Leonard QB1.
I'm gonna fuck up the mock this year. Let's do it. Malik Willis 2.0.
Yeah. Monty Rice. My guy.
Man. All right, guys. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Everything ain't what it seems. Glittering gold both ways. Not on my team. This organic, we don't buy.